We are at a Newmar rally here in San Diego area, and we're looking at a Dutch Star motorhome. And on the kitchen slide, there are two motors that possibly the bolts can come loose, and there's one in the bedroom here. Just showing you a wide view here. In a minute here, we're going to be going inside the cabinet and showing you where the motor is. And again, the reason this is important is because if these bolts come loose, the motor will get jammed up and cause problems with the slide out assembly and also the motor. So this is a problem that has plagued a lot of Newmar owners, and we're going to be taking a look at today how we can go ahead and alleviate that problem with the changes that we're going to be showing you. Okay, before we get started, these are the minimum tools that are going to be required here. You can see we have a combination wrench, we've got a square drive screwdriver, we have Loctite that comes in two different sizes here. We do recommend that you use a torque wrench to torque it, and because you're going to be working in an inside cabinet, extra lighting is nice to have. By having these next set of tools, it makes it a little bit easier to do. We have a drill motor to take the screws out, a ratchet, a headlight, and then the tool that makes it a much easier job is an electric ratchet. But again, doesn't necessarily need to be that way. These tools that we're showing you here will get the job done. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and get started here. This will be the kitchen slide on the coach, and we're going to open up these cabinets here. And what we're looking for in the top of the cabinet, there is a cover that goes over the motor, and the reason it's people have difficulty finding the motor is because it's underneath this cover. So here's one of the covers here for the motor, and then again, because we have two motors, here is the second cover that we'll be taking down in just a minute as a demo. There is also one slide motor that's inside the coach, which is going to be in the bedroom, and we'll be doing that second. So what we're going to be doing now is taking off that cover to get access to the slide out motor. Okay, now there can be anywhere from 2 to 4 screws, but this top screw here that's underneath this rubber seal here is difficult to see, and if you didn't know it was there, it would have trouble getting it down. So what we're going to do, we're just going to go ahead and unloosen this screw so we can get access to the motor. So what I'm doing now is I'm just taking off this screw that's underneath the rubber seal here above the cabinet door, and it is now out, and we're going to come back here and get the second screw, and it is coming down, and we are real close to just getting to this motor. A little windy today here in San Diego, and here's the cover that goes above the motor, and with the second here we'll take a look at that motor assembly. Now going ahead, coming in to take a look at the motor, coming in here slowly. Again, it's in the middle of the cabinet at the top of the top there, and we're looking at the motor here now. There are 4 bolts, 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom, and we're now showing you the bottom position where those bolts are. You would never want to take all of these bolts out at the same time, and when you're doing this project, you would start at the top and work down at the bottom. In a minute here, we're going to be removing one of the bolts to show you how to remove the bolt. Once that bolt is removed, we're going to put Loctite on it, and this would be the minimum that you should do. And check this again, this is a problem. We're going to now remove one of the bolts. We're going to be getting the bolt that's on the bottom on the left hand side looking to the front of it, and we're now unloosening the bolts. It'll be interesting to find out. I think most of you that are watching this video are going to find out that a number of your bolts are loose. We have seen them where bolts can come. Would recommend at this time that you actually check the tightness of the bolts on your motor to see where they are. We're going to go ahead and unloosen it, but would recommend that you check the tightness, because I think you'll find that a number of them are loose. So we're going ahead and we're checking the tightness. You can see that the ratchet moved quite a bit. Now we're actually going to go ahead and check another bolt for tightness. And again, both of those are tight. I think you'll find that they won't be tight. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and remove one of the bolts. And you can see we're using a ratcheting half-inch combination wrench, and we're removing that bolt. And we're going to go ahead and check and see how much Loctite was put on at the factory, and then we're going to go ahead and put we're going to put red Loctite on it, and we're going to put that bolt back in there. Again, remember, the key thing is only do one bolt at a time. Normally we would start at the top, but for video purposes and just for making people familiar with the slide out motor issue, we recommend to go ahead and we're doing the bottom one on this one. Okay, now you can see this is the bolt, one of the 4 bolts that hold the slide out motor in. So what we're going to do now, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put a couple drops of Loctite. Now we're going to put Loctite on all the threads. If you take a look here, it doesn't look like there's very much Loctite here. We're going to go ahead and put some red Loctite on this all the way. And again, some people are going to say with red Loctite that it's permanent. I can assure you over the years, numerous times I've had to remove these bolts. It's much harder to do, but they will come out, and I still would recommend that we use red Loctite. Here's the bolt with the red Loctite on, and we're going to go ahead and put that bolt back in and secure it. Okay, you saw we put the red Loctite on, and we're now tightening up that bolt, and it's secure. And that's done. Now again, you would normally start at the top and do all 4 of them, but again, remember the key thing: only do one at a time. Make sure to use a lot of Loctite, and make sure you secure the bolts in there, and that takes care of it. Now there's another motor that's in front of this one here, so there's actually 2 motors. We would actually be doing 8 bolts on the outside. This coach, like a lot of Newmars, has an HWH hydraulic full wall assembly, and as of right now, we don't see there's no problem with needing any service on that. So we've now would have completed the outside 2 motors, and now we're going to be going inside the coach for the bedroom slide, which is what most of the Newmars have, which would be 3 motors. So with this, we'll conclude the cabinet here. We also need to still put the cover on, but obviously if you took the cover off, you can have no trouble putting the cover on. So that'll conclude the outside cabinet Loctite. We'll be going inside the coach next. Okay, now we're inside the coach, and again we have raised the bed up to get access. You can notice that there are actually 4 sections here. Most of the time I think you're going to find the motor on the right hand side, but it could be on the left hand side. So what we're going to do is go ahead and take out the false floor here so we can get access to it. So here's one section here, here's another section here. Now this will not just pull out because there's 2 screws, and so what we're going to do right now is we're going to go ahead and remove those screws so we can get access to the motor. There's 1 screw removed, our second screw removed. Here is access to the front part of the slide out motor assembly, but you can see that we still have 1 more that we need to get to, and so we're going to go ahead and pull out this section here. And if this is like most Newmars, we should be looking at the slide out motor, which is right here. And what we're going to be doing, again, the same thing. If you take a look there are 4 bolts that are holding the motor to the assembly. These are those same bolts that were talked about that can come loose, and when they do come loose, they can damage the motor and damage the slide out assembly. So again, this would be the third motor, which I think you're going to find on most Newmars is going to be the number of motors, 2 on the kitchen slide, 1 on the bedroom slide. And again, checking these bolts will greatly lessen the potential for slide out motor problems in the future. So would recommend that that this be done at least once a year, and that going ahead and putting the Loctite on there will make it a much less likely that you'll have problems with it. And with that, we'll conclude the video on checking your slide out motor bolts.